Let me start with this. A narcissist can wear the perfect mask, they can charm a room, they can manipulate your heart, and they can make you doubt your own reality. But here's the truth. No matter how polished their disguise looks, there are cracks. And once you know where to look, you can see right through them. Today, I'm going to give you 3 secrets that will expose any narcissist. Not in months, not in years, but in moments. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. A narcissist can spend years perfecting their mask. They learn how to smile at the right time, say the right words, and play the part of the ideal partner, friend, or leader. But here's the truth. No matter how convincing that performance seems, it always slips. And when it does, even for just a second, that tiny crack in the armor reveals everything. Most people miss it because they want to believe in the mask. They want to trust the charm, the generosity, the flattery. It feels good to be the center of someone's attention. It feels safe to believe that this person is exactly who they pretend to be. But deep down, a narcissist's mask isn't about you at all. It's about protecting themselves from being seen. The slip usually comes in the smallest, most ordinary moments. Maybe it's the way their eyes flash with irritation when you question them. Maybe it's the sharp edge in their tone when you set a boundary. Maybe it's the way they look at someone they consider beneath them, and suddenly the warmth in their expression disappears. In that instant, you're no longer dealing with the mask. You're seeing the raw hunger for control and superiority that drives them. The mask is carefully rehearsed, but the slip is real, and it always shows up when they feel exposed, rejected, or out of control. Think of it like this. A mask is heavy. It requires constant energy to hold in place. A narcissist can only keep up the act when the circumstances are right, when they're admired, when they're in control, when their image is secure. But the moment that energy drops, the truth seeps out. And if you're paying attention, you'll see it. Their smile doesn't reach their eyes. Their words are sharp, even when their tone is soft. Their actions don't match their promises. That's when you catch the glimpse of who they really are. Here's the hard part. Once you see the mask slip, you can't unsee it. It forces you to confront reality. The person you thought you could rely on, the one who seemed so attentive, may not actually care about your well-being. They care about control. They care about being admired. They care about keeping you in their orbit. That realization is painful. It often comes with denial. Maybe I imagined it, or maybe they were just having a bad day. But if you watch long enough, the slips will keep coming. They're not accidents, they're truths. What makes this secret powerful is that it doesn't require confrontation. You don't have to argue or prove them wrong. You don't have to convince anyone else of what you saw. You simply have to trust your own eyes. The mask slipping is enough. Once you stop being blinded by the performance, you start seeing patterns that were always there. And in that awareness, you regain power. Because when you can recognize the cracks in the mask, you're no longer at the mercy of their illusion. You're finally seeing reality, and reality will always set you free. A narcissist cannot coexist with accountability. On the surface, they may appear strong, confident, even admirable in their achievements, but at the core, accountability is the one thing they cannot tolerate. To hold someone accountable is to require truth, consistency, and responsibility for their actions. For most people, accountability is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also a path to growth. For a narcissist, it feels like exposure. It threatens the fragile image they have carefully built, and so they will twist, deflect, or attack the moment it enters the room. Imagine confronting a narcissist with something simple. Maybe they broke a promise, maybe they said one thing and did another. For a healthy individual, that moment may sting, but they can own it. You're right. I dropped the ball, I'll fix it. A narcissist cannot. Their identity relies on perfection, superiority, and control. Admitting fault shatters the illusion, and so they must do anything but take responsibility. They might gaslight you, insisting you're remembering it wrong. They might shift blame onto someone else, even onto you. They might lash out in anger to distract you from the original issue. Each tactic is designed to preserve their image at all costs. This is why accountability is such a powerful tool for exposing them. It acts like sunlight to a shadow. The closer you move toward truth, the more frantic they become in trying to cover it. Pay attention not just to what they say, but to how they react when you bring up accountability. Do they immediately get defensive? Do they dodge the question? Do they turn the conversation into a story where they're the victim? These reactions aren't random. They are patterns that reveal the truth behind the mask. And here's the subtle part. Sometimes accountability doesn't even need to come from you. Watch how they respond in situations where life itself, holds them accountable. Maybe they're late to a meeting and someone calls it out. Maybe a colleague challenges their story. Maybe a friend points out an inconsistency. In those moments, if you observe closely, you'll see their mask slip. You'll see the discomfort, the agitation, the urgent need to redirect the spotlight. Because accountability strips away their favorite weapon, control over perception. The irony is that true accountability is not meant to destroy anyone. For most of us, it's a mirror that helps us become better. It's how trust is built, how relationships deepen, how leadership becomes real. But for a narcissist, it is intolerable because it highlights a truth they spend their entire lives running from. They are not who they pretend to be. And once you understand this, you no longer get caught in the trap of expecting them to own their actions. You stop waiting for the apology that will never come. You stop searching for closure in their words. Instead, you accept accountability as the dividing line, the test that always reveals what's real. Because anyone who cannot handle being accountable is already telling you everything you need to know. If you really want to know who someone is, don't look at how they treat the people they want to impress. Look at how they treat the people they believe don't matter. A narcissist thrives on performance. In front of an audience, they can play the role of the charming leader, the generous partner, or the kind friend. But when the spotlight shifts, when there's no one important to gain approval from, their true nature begins to show. The waiter at the restaurant, the cashier at the grocery store, the person cleaning the floor. To the narcissist, these people hold no value because they can't be used as tools for admiration or status. That's where you see the masks start to fall. Watch closely. They may speak with irritation, act dismissively, or even ignore someone they consider beneath them. The tone of their voice will change. What was once warm and flattering toward you may suddenly turn cold and clipped when addressing someone else. This difference is not accidental. It's the narcissist's unfiltered truth. They see relationships not as human-to-human connections, but as transactions. If someone cannot provide them with power, praise, or validation, that person becomes invisible or even disposable. This is why this secret is so powerful. Most people are fooled by how a narcissist treats them directly. If you're the target of their attention, you may be showered with compliments, gifts, or charm. It feels intoxicating to be chosen, to be put on a pedestal, but that pedestal is temporary. If you want to protect yourself, you have to look beyond how they treat you and study how they treat everyone else. Because the way they behave with someone they don't need is a preview of how they will eventually treat you once your usefulness runs out. There's also something revealing about their inability to show consistent respect. True character doesn't fluctuate with status. A grounded person will treat a CEO and a janitor with the same level of decency. A narcissist cannot. Their worldview is built on hierarchies. They need someone above them to envy and someone below them to dismiss. This isn't just about rudeness, it's about control. By diminishing someone they deem unimportant, they inflate themselves. By charming someone powerful, they attempt to borrow significance. The pattern is always self-serving. You may notice moments when they're especially sweet to someone they think is influential, but then seconds later they belittle or mock someone else who holds no social currency. These contrasts are not slips in judgment. They are evidence of their inner wiring. And once you see the pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. So the next time you want to see a narcissist clearly, step back and watch. Pay less attention to the performance they put on for you and more attention to the interactions they believe don't matter. That's where their mask is thinnest, because the truth of who they are is not revealed in how they treat the people they want. It's revealed in how they treat the people they think they don't need. A narcissist's entire identity is built on stories, and every single one of those stories casts them in one of two roles, the hero or the victim. There's no middle ground, no nuance, no honest humility. If they're not boasting about their triumphs, they're lamenting how the world has wronged them. Either way, the spotlight never leaves them. This is one of the clearest signs that exposes who they really are. While most people can share experiences with complexity, acknowledging strengths, mistakes, lessons, and contributions from others, the narcissist's version of reality is always distorted to serve their image. When they play the hero, they inflate themselves to a grand scale. They'll exaggerate achievements, embellish details, and often take credit for things they didn't even do. It's never just, "I did a good job," it's, "I was the only one who could have pulled this off." In their story, they're the savior, the genius, the one everyone depends on. They don't just want recognition, they crave adoration. Their need to be the hero is about more than pride. It's about reinforcing the illusion of superiority. If people believe the story, they believe the mask. On the other side of the coin, the narcissist just as easily becomes the victim. The victim narrative serves a different purpose: manipulation. By painting themselves as misunderstood, mistreated, or unfairly attacked, they recruit sympathy and loyalty. They use guilt as a leash to keep people close. If they failed, it wasn't because of their own shortcomings, it was because others sabotaged them. If they hurt someone, it wasn't intentional. It was a reaction to how cruelly they've been treated. This endless victimhood allows them to avoid accountability while keeping the attention focused squarely on themselves. The dangerous part is how convincing these stories can be. A skilled narcissist knows how to tell them with emotion, conviction, even tears. And because most people want to believe the best in others, it's easy to get caught in their narrative. But if you listen closely, the pattern is always the same. They are either elevated above everyone else or tragically beneath them. They're never simply human. This absence of balance is what exposes them. Life isn't that black and white. Real people are complex. We succeed and fail. We shine and stumble. We share victories and burdens with others. When someone's stories never leave room for vulnerability without manipulation or for accomplishment without arrogance, it's a signal. It's the signature of a narcissist. Once you recognize this pattern, you stop getting swept up in the drama. You start asking different questions. What role are they casting themselves in right now, hero or victim? Whose perspective is missing from this story? The answers will help you see through the illusion. Because when every tale is about elevating themselves or eliciting your sympathy, you can be sure you're not hearing the truth. You're hearing a performance. And the performance itself is the proof. Boundaries are the kryptonite of a narcissist. To most healthy people, boundaries are simply part of respectful relationships. They define where one person ends and another begins. They allow love, trust, and connection to exist without fear of being taken advantage of. But to a narcissist, boundaries feel like rejection, like a wall built to keep them out of control. This is why boundaries expose them instantly. The moment you say no and mean it, the mask begins to slip. At first, they may try to test you softly. You set a small limit. Maybe you say you can't talk right now or you're not comfortable with a certain request, and they push back with charm. They'll act confused, maybe even joke about how unnecessary your limit seems. If you give in, they learn that your no doesn't really mean no. But if you stand firm, their response changes. Suddenly, the charm fades and irritation surfaces. They may guilt you. I thought you cared about me. They may shame you. You're being selfish. Or they may become outright angry. How dare you treat me this way? In each of these reactions, what you're seeing is the truth. They don't respect your boundary because they don't see you as separate from themselves. This exposure is powerful because it strips away the illusion of mutuality. In a genuine relationship, boundaries are not just accepted, but valued. A friend, partner, or leader who respects you will listen when you say no, even if it disappoints them. They may not like it, but they won't punish you for it. With a narcissist, it's the opposite. Your no threatens their control, and in that moment, their priority is revealed. It was never about connection. It was never about honoring you. It was always about power. Boundaries also reveal the narcissist's inability to experience true intimacy. Intimacy requires two whole people meeting as equals, each with their own needs, desires, and limits. A narcissist doesn't want that. They want a mirror, not a partner. They want someone who reflects back their greatness and gives them endless access to attention, energy, and validation. When you set a boundary, you shatter that illusion. You remind them that you are not an extension of them. You are your own person with your own lines they cannot cross. The most telling part is how consistently this exposure works. You don't have to dig into their past or psychoanalyze their stories. All you have to do is stand your ground, say no, hold firm. Watch what happens. If the person in front of you respects your boundary, you've got someone real. If they rage, sulk, or manipulate, you've got someone hiding behind a mask. That reaction is your answer. This is why boundaries are more than just personal protection. They are truth detectors. Every time you draw a line, you invite someone to show you who they really are. And when you do that with a narcissist, they cannot help but reveal themselves. What a narcissist calls love is rarely love at all. On the surface, it may look like affection, passion, or commitment, but beneath the surface, it's something else entirely. It's about control. Narcissists don't crave genuine connection because true connection requires equality, vulnerability, and reciprocity. Those are things they cannot sustain. What they crave instead is ownership, a sense that you belong to them, that your attention, your energy, and your life orbit around their needs. This is why the sixth secret is so revealing. Once you stop feeding their need for control, their mask unravels. In the beginning, the illusion can be intoxicating. A narcissist knows how to mimic closeness. They may shower you with attention, make you feel seen, and even mirror your desires so perfectly that it feels like you've found your soulmate. But this isn't connection, it's strategy. They are gathering leverage, figuring out what you need, what you fear, what you long for. They store these details like ammunition, ready to use them to keep you tethered. Their version of love is a system of exchanges where the price is your freedom. The cracks begin to show when you try to reclaim that freedom. Perhaps you want space. Perhaps you want to make a decision without their input. Perhaps you simply say no. In a healthy relationship, these moments don't break the bond, they strengthen it. Two individuals respecting each other's autonomy creates a foundation of trust. But to a narcissist, your independence feels like a threat. It's not just about the moment, it's about the loss of control. That's when the performance fades and their true nature rises. They might become critical, dismissive, or angry. They might guilt you into compliance or make you feel like you're abandoning them. All of these tactics reveal what they really wanted, not partnership, but possession. This distinctive on between control and connection is essential to understand because it's the line that separates illusion from reality. Connection is mutual. It's about meeting someone as a whole human being, respecting their boundaries, valuing their individuality, and offering the same in return. Control, on the other hand, is one-sided. It reduces you to a role, a resource, a reflection. The narcissist doesn't see you as you are. They see you as an extension of themselves. Once you recognize this, the power shifts. Their tactics lose their grip. You stop interpreting their possessiveness as passion, their jealousy as devotion, their manipulation as care. You see it for what it is, control. And the moment you stop feeding that control, you expose them. Because without dominance, without your compliance, their mask has no purpose. The truth is, connection cannot survive where control rules. Real love doesn't demand that you shrink, silence yourself, or surrender your boundaries. Real love doesn't fear your independence, it celebrates it. So when you witness someone equating love with ownership, understand that you're not dealing with connection at all. You're witnessing control disguised as care, and that is the final secret that exposes a narcissist every time.